Oh shit.
chat like fucking message, dude.
There we go. All right.
Brr.
All right. All right. Are we good? Let's see.
And we're good.
We're good. All right. So, welcome to Note War podcast. Is it episode number 8? Yeah,
It's
number 8.
it's number 9, dude. Right?
Nah, it's 8, I think. Yeah, it's
Okay.
8. Anyway, so today's Ben, by the way, outline is in the podcast channel, text channel. Today we
Yeah, I see
will
it.
be covering mostly canon stuff and some miscellaneous stuff at the end for due to requests. All right, so today we have two guests that are experienced with canons. Hey, and so anyway, let's start out with introduction. My name is Bloody Karma. I'm a wizard.
My name's Benjamin Musa.
My name is Yef. I'm a DK. Good
Again.
cannons.
My name is Gannon, and I'm gay.
Is that the real Ganon Derp?
Gasp!
Wait for it.
It's your boy Illis Panda back at it again. Level 60 Zerker, single, likes long walks at the beach and cuddles.
There it
Main
is.
shot caller for Lionsgate.
Main shot caller my ass, dude.
Oh, wait.
Shady.
Quick question. Do you still have your
Yeah.
fidget spinner?
What, are you there?
Hello?
Hello?
You okay?
Do you still have your fidget spinner?
No, I threw that away.
Alright.
Aw, feels bad.
I can still hear it echoing in my ears.
Just the back of my mind.
Yeah. Which...
All right. So let's get the show started. So first thing first, we are I guess we'll start with the basic about like the canon charts that most people have probably seen already. This is not it, and that's not it. There it is. So for those of you guys that seen this, well, haven't seen this, I should say. Um, so this is the range data for cannons, okay? And let's do some explanations. You guys looking at what's on my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Either Gannon or Jeff, go ahead.
So basically, you want to go off of the second section. Cannons basically split into several different indicators, as you can see on the chart. When you hold shift down, just press W and S to kind of go through the different angles. You'll ideally start at 0, and then you see that go up. So, yeah. Anything you want to add, Gannon?
Right. So the top chart is explicitly for completely flat ground. I'm guessing they tested it on some kind of road. I believe this is actually made by new data by Maythor and Siong. It's made on completely flat ground. The second chart is like ballparked, so it's not as accurate per se, but it's about what you can expect. So on the left, on the y-axis, it says minimum power, half power, and maximum power. So when you hold down shift and left click, you instead of instantly firing the cannon, you start charging power in the cannon shot.
Wait. Hold on. I'm setting up practice cannons right now.
Oh, sure.
All right. So go ahead. So
So when you hold down shift and press left click, you start charging power for the cannon shot. If so, by minimum power, they mean you just tap left click and let go immediately. So you'll just shoot a cannonball as at little power as possible. So by 0th tick and minimum power, they mean if you hold down shift and press W until your cannon is all the way facing downwards, like it's horizontal to the ground. You might not want to put that many cannonballs in there, by the way, because I believe they only have durability to shoot about
20,
30.
Yeah,
20 or 30.
Yeah, I fucked up, but it's all right.
That's all right. So at 0 power, that's all the way down, and you just tap it, and it's barely going to go anywhere. And now keep in mind that is the shortest distance that the cannonball can fly. So you do need some distance from your target to be able to hit it with a cannon at all.
Actually, let's roll back a little. Let's talk about distance first.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody knows about autopathing and how there's a little arrow next to you when you have an autopath target, and there's like a little number there that shows how far away you are from said position. So that's basically using those units. I haven't done the measurements myself as to how far those units are, but basically I think it's steps. People just normally, when you're trying to communicate those numbers, they just say the number. They don't really use a unit. Sometimes people say meters, but you can always just assume they're using the in-game measurement. So oftentimes what cannoneers will do is they will ping somewhere so that they know the distance that they're shooting at. So they'll ping the enemy base to know how far away that is. And then they'll use that chart. So if you go back to sorry, what?
No. Go ahead. Sorry.
If you go back to the chart, basically you want to know how far away your target is and sort of try to take into account how high you are compared to the target and things like that. So you'll want to use the range that the ballpark chart gives you to be able to hit your target efficiently.
Mm-hmm. So the example that I'm standing on right now, I pinned a common base for this particular node zone, Imp Cave, right outside of Velia. So this is a very common placement that it's on the southwest, very southwest of the node map. Now, so that is according to the unit is 210, right? So I'm roughly a little bit like elevated from the target. The target is actually a little bit in the ditch. So what happened is, let's say target's 210. So Gannon, go ahead or Jeff, go ahead on what we should go back by on the chart.
Let me open the chart really quick.
He linked it in his own chat.
Oh my God. Okay.
A lot of cannoners, actually, I know, like really, really good cannoners, especially like during siege and things like that. They don't even have a spotter, for instance, to hit their targets, because how are you going to spot inside of a castle? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they just memorize all of these positions and what power and what angle to use.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, so we're at 210. So correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, I should be looking at what the fuck? Fifth tick.
You could do either fifth tick half power, second tick about like 60 power, I'd say 60
Mhm.
70 power.
Is that how
But
you?
again,
Okay.
that's ideally in a situation where you're on a flat ground.
Mhm.
But in actual node wars, like you're not on a flat ground as often as you'd like.
Mhm.
And again, you'd actually have less of an advantage when people come find you once you're on a flat ground. So you kind of want to get used to the elevation, like the altitude, or firing from a higher altitude or lower altitude.
Okay. Okay. So what's 210 into 220? That's the rough range. Is that correct? And
Yeah.
at
About
half power. Okay.
Yes.
So what you could do, since sixth tick maximum power says 220 to 230, you could do like sixth tick 75 power or sixth tick 80 power.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be half or maximum. You could go in between the two to try to find the right range. And again, that's
Oh,
what this
max power. Oh, okay. Okay. I got you. Got you.
So you could do like top angle like 80 power ish.
Okay. So let's say top power. So top angle 80 power. So essentially 80 power. You just let the stamina bar read to 80, and then
Mhm.
release, and there you go. So that's essentially what it is for on the cannon side. And because you're so far away, you usually don't see what you hit, right? So
Yeah.
what happened is you cannon team consists of minimum one cannoneer and a spotter. Well, supposedly.
Minimum, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's skeletal team. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, all right. So we can move on. So here are the basically the Canon power chart. For those of you guys did not see it, you can probably search it on Google. Canon range data BDO. You can probably get this chart pretty easily or somewhere similar. Now, so next thing on the list will be shots correction. Shots correction calls. Yeah, go ahead.
So generally with the shot correction call, I mean, obviously you need a spotter. The main essential part I see as a problem for me is uh communicating what basically like the words that your spotter uses and the words you use to respond. So let's say I the spotter I worked with, he would just say you're 10 short and correct to the west, north, or whatever like compass directions that you know you're firing from basically. Other people I've seen do cannons, they sometimes use left or right. Like for example, if the spotter knows that you're shooting from for example the north and your shot needs to go a bit to the west, he could say, oh, correct 5 degrees to your right or something like that. So it's basically a preference in terms of communication between you and the spotter. But generally, it's usually 10, 20, short and long, stuff like that.
On that note, I think it might be a good idea to explain what a spotter is. So a spotter is basically somebody who tells the cannon shooter where their cannonballs are landing. We'll go over this later, but that's just what a cannon or a spotter's job is. And a spotter and the cannon shooter sort of have to have some chemistry. And by that, they don't need to go on dates, but I mean they need to like sort of know each other's language and know each other's calls. For instance, I remember switching spotters. There was some confusion because I was used to a spotter who would tell me, let's say my cannonball landed um, 10 units to the right, my right of the target. And so they would say, you need to adjust 10 meters to your left. And I was used to that language from the spotter. But then I got a spotter who would say, oh, you're 10 meters north. And so I would have to do like I would either like misinterpret what they're saying or like I would have to rethink, how that worked. So, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it does help save time.
Yeah, and time is really essential when you're cannoning. Like split seconds kind of count.
Yeah.
They add up.
Whoa, sorry, I forgot my mic is muted for some reason. All right, so like altitude correction, shot correction. Essentially, we kind of cover that, like like earlier as we're explaining how cannon works, in terms of firing chart and stuff. Um, so let's go over timelines. So actually, let's go back to teams. What's your ideal team, Jeff?
Oh,
Numbers.
ideal team composition?
Yeah, like comp or numbers or whatever.
Um, with me, I'm just used to like working with like a 2 to 3 man team,
Mm-hmm.
just because you won't always have people that are able to go on cannons. Like sometimes defense or offense need more people to kind of help out.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally, you'd want kind of 2 spotters and 1 cannon person. In the beginning, like you would have 1 person spot for a location to place a cannon at. There should always be a person at base within the first 5 minutes of node work to pick up the cannon. That's really important. And once you decide on a location, you as a cannoner would go to that location, and the person who found that location would basically go be the spotter for you. And it's always helpful to have 1 extra person to kind of go back and forth and swap between positions. Let's say, for example, you're cannoning, right? And you end up getting ganked, you die. You're on a respawn timer. So what the spotter could do in this position is they could just respawn at base, pick up the next cannon, and then just run over to find a new position, set up a cannon, and then wait for you to respawn at base, and then you basically go be the spotter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you add a 3rd person into that mix, the rotation becomes much more smoother.
Okay.
And as a side note, you also want to grab cannons as much as possible, because I found it helpful a lot of times to have multiple cannons on me. So
Yeah.
let's say I get ganked, right? And I get away. I could just run away and set up another cannon without having to go back all the way back to base.
Mm-hmm. So,
You do have to keep in mind, however, if they don't destroy your cannon, you have to delete that cannon. Otherwise, you won't be able to
Yes.
place another one.
yeah,
Mhm.
and deleting cannon takes 1 minute. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's actually a lot longer.
Hmm.
Yeah. So another thing, actually, one of viewer asked that, isn't it better just to spend 30 seconds upfront to coordinate with a new spotter, as like whoever is most suitable in that node? Or either one of you guys want to answer that?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, you should always get to like know what kind of language your spotter means or is saying, and it's just you don't always have the ideal situation, and I've run into a lot of like situations where the cannon team is like thrown together last second, and I've had somebody who's never spotted before, and I'm like, okay, you need to go in there and die and tell me what's going on. So
I mean, speaking just from like a GM perspective, like you expect some people will show up and real life happens and they don't show up, you know? Like some people may fall asleep again before a node war. And that's just going to happen. So you can't always expect to have everybody there and, 30 minutes hey, what do you mean by this? It's just not going to be always a real thing that happens.
And I find the biggest thing about like canon team is actually a position that require training for, because you gotta explain. Not everyone understand what unit is, like how does unit work in game? How do you tell? Like how what structure to hit actually, which we'll cover it a little bit in the future. And ideally your spotter and the cannon tier need to be able to alternate, kind of like what Jeff said earlier. So just keep the ball rolling, really, like pick up cannon, let's go, and stuff like that, right? So less
yeah.
downtime. Go ahead.
So I guess we can go over like timing and things like that. So it's really important to keep moving in terms of cannons, because let's say your offense team is trying to push onto a base that has a really, really powerful like siege setup. Like there's just there's structures cucking you no matter what angle you try to take the base at. So essentially your offense team is waiting on you to take those out. And the time that you take to take those structures out is time that they could be using to take out the base. So it's a really time sensitive job, and the faster things you can do the faster you can do things, the faster your offense can get the node war done. And especially in node wars where there's 7 to 8 bases, it's really important that you get these things done quickly.
Yeah, what was the timing like for that war for you guys in final? Were you cannoning for that war?
Yep, that was an insane war for us.
That
was actually the first time Sarah was ever on Cannon team, and that was actually pretty funny.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's get in that story in a bit here. All right,
Yeah,
so okay, let's talk. What about your ideal cannon squad, Gannon?
Oh, my ideal cannon squad. So you mean by classes?
Well, classes, how many people, and stuff like that.
So,
Anything you want to add, like you think is ideal.
right. So there's sort of two different kind of compositions you can go for. I feel like with a cannon team, there's a sort of like sneaky cheese, cannon spot. Haha, you can't do anything about this kind of comp. In which case, classes, of course, like tamers and ninjas really come in handy for it, because they can get to spots that a lot of other classes can't without like maximum jump height. And even then, those classes can get maximum jump height, and they can get to some really ridiculous places. The infamous Valencia jumping puzzles, and it's like they can get to places nobody else could even dream of and just shoot cannons from up there, and people are like, where the hell are these cannons coming from? So there's that kind of setup. And of course a spotter, like it really doesn't matter what kind of class you have spotting, but of course you want to be able to alternate with them. And then there's the kind of class or kind of setup where your cannon team wants to be able to hold their own. In which case, classes like a Valkyrie or a Berserker are very important to be able to peel people off, as well as like pin down a couple of other people to let either your class, the other classes that are, for instance, like a Sork or a DK or somebody who can deal out a lot of damage. So basically, you want to think of it as like teams of 2 or 3 or 4 holding off against like 5 or 10 people. So you want to have one person CCing. But again, the issue is you're taking a Berserker off of the offense force, which can be a really valuable asset. So you sort of have to, weigh your pros and cons.
Yeah. I don't know. Like our guild has a lot of Berserker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How come we don't have a Berserker on cannon team, Ben?
We don't have a Berserker on cannons because we need them on front line.
We have a lot,
Exactly.
dude. We have like 9. It's ridiculous. How many Berserker?
Well, I mean, what makes more sense, to have a Berserker on cannons or a Striker?
Exactly. And if we're gonna,
you're right.
we're gonna have a Zerker on cannons. We might as well have like a 5 to 10 man cannon squad that will just be able to hold their own.
Yeah, it's
I
true.
mean, that's what happens. Like if you want to overstack on resources, then things get a lot easier. But more problems will arise too.
Yeah.
Lean and mean sometimes is better, and sometimes it's better to overstack. If you want them to never be challenged, yeah, fucking stick 5 or 6 people in cannons. Fuck it, dude.
All right.
Also,
Yeah, go ahead.
an important thing you can keep in mind is you can combine the cannon squad with the offense force. So you can like have a regroup for the offense force on top of the cannon squad. So essentially, the cannons have a layer of protection.
Sorry, what was that? Explain again. Sorry.
So you can. So for instance, one thing I did a lot with Taco in final was whenever I would see him place a flag, I would move our cannon spot over to that flag because normally it's within a fair distance of the enemy base. And so that way, when people respawn, and if we get attacked, the people respawning can sort of help us defend the cannons.
Okay, that's interesting. Actually, have we done that, Jeff?
I think we did that once. This was like a while ago.
It's case specific, but
Yeah.
Okay.
That's noted.
Shut up, Panda. Why is he listening to the? No, I'm just kidding. All right. So I realize there's one thing that we skip on the to-do list here: structure priority. So let's talk about structures. There's a lot of misconception of call it what structure to hit and shit. And which is that's why we end up hearing stories about people unloading cannon into giant gates.
Machine gun, dude.
Yeah, man. All right. So, for those of you, Gannon and Jeff, do you guys have my stream open?
Yeah, it's a little bit delayed though.
That's fine. I'm gonna don't save. Hang on. I'm gonna open my paint. Open the
Ooh.
base that I drew
Oh
a
my
few
god,
weeks
Bob
back.
Ross.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, man.
So risky.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna open this up and I'm gonna use this as an example. Okay. And yeah, we're gonna talk about. Okay, so how we are.
Why do I keep dildos, dude? What the
So
fuck?
how
Reported.
I need
So we're
an
gonna
adult.
talk about A, what direction you will attack this base on. B, how many shot will you need for each locations. Okay? So just to go over all this structure is what. Um let's see. So obviously this is a flame tower, it's a very well drawn flame tower. The yellow ones are recovery centers. This is a tiny Waja. This is a flag. This is a cannon, and this is supply depot, and that's a mountain. All right. So, Jeff and Gannon, if today this is the base you're attacking, where let's make this easy. Up is north, and then right is east and shit like that. Which direction would you place your cannon at?
I think that's really dependent on the terrain around it as well.
Well, there's a mountain at the back. That's the best I got for you.
Wow.
Everything else is
buddy.
flat. How about that?
I mean, if everything else is flat, can we fire from behind the mountain? Is that even possible?
How far away is this mountain?
That just say this is Goat Mountain, and it's outside on top of mountain. A peak of the mountain's the. You know what? You can't go up on top. Yeah, I guess you can. Yeah, Goat Mountain.
No, there's bases on top of.
Yeah.
We beat Honey Badger, remember?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. All right. So this is the mountain at the back is Go Mountain, and on top of the mountain is where the note zone line is. So yes, there's a portion of the mountain that you can attack the base from. If you place a cannon up there.
I mean, I'd say depending on how steep you could place, it could be possible. But the problem is, the higher you go to altitude, the further the cannonball goes.
Mm-hmm.
So that might not always be ideal. Any other direction would be nice. You could place between you and your behind your force when they're attacking the enemy base, I guess, or a direction that's like on the side.
So this is Jeff. You said maybe on mountain. pink arrow is Jeff.
Yeah, chances are you won't be able to place there though.
Okay, fine. So it will be you say opposite of your force. Is that what it is, or behind your
Behind
force?
your force, yeah.
Behind your force. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's say our force are going on the bottom left.
The thing is, I can't tell you what's a good idea because there's just so many variables to it.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Fine, 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 fine. So today you can land. So what direction you don't want to attack from, according to this base layout, I guess.
God.
By the way, this is the gate at the bottom.
I mean, direction doesn't really matter because you could say like, oh, you don't want to hit the gate, but you could always arc the cannonball over the gate.
That's true. That's true.
So direction isn't too important unless it's like, it's a path that the enemy guild is like commonly taking, and you don't
Yep.
want them walking by and being like, oh, there's a cannon.
Okay.
So direction isn't too important. Normally, you just want to have it opposite of where the action is going on if you're going for the sneaky approach.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So let's talk about what's your top priorities in terms of cannon, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and how many shots does it take? So according to this base layout, I guess. Okay, you know what? Let's start with the priority first. So obviously, watch out flame tower is first. Which one do you guys usually go first?
I go for Watcha.
Yeah, Ganon's
Yeah.
watch as well. Yeah.
I also go watch normally, but it's really important that you communicate with your shot caller because, for instance, a flame tower could be giving them a lot of trouble, and the Hwacha might not be able to hit them from a push position they're pointing at. So you're going to want to ask, and communicate, saying, I'm going to go for the Hwacha first, and they'll say okay, or they'll say no, go for the flame tower or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So Watcher. So how many shots for Watcher?
I think it's five or six.
I'd say 5 or 6 usually for everything.
6 shots. Yeah.
Sorry, 6 shots.
Flame tower is 8. Hwacha is 6.
So Watcher is 6 shots.
Okay.
This flame tower is 8 shots. Wow, my 8 is spot on, dude. All right, this is
So
8.
if you keep that in mind, it's a minute between each cannonball.
A minute. Yeah.
A minute between each cannonball. A cannon can fire a cannonball every minute.
Mhm.
So that's a Hwacha down in 6 minutes.
Okay.
With no presence inside their base.
Okay.
Or is it 30 seconds, Jeff?
I'm pretty sure 30. A minute.
I was about to
it's
say
30
a minute
30.
seems a long ass time.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it is a minute or
Yeah.
30 seconds. My bad. So that's 3 minutes for a Hwacha to go down.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So
Unless
after.
you're Jube, it's 2 seconds. Ba, 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 ba.
Oh, here we go again.
All right. So what about after the Watcher and Flame Tower goes down? Like, do you bother using cannon on any other structures, or we're just talking about regular cannon right now? Yeah.
Let me go again.
So what I would run into a lot, and what I would do is I would honestly just end up pelting the main tower with regular cannonballs, because cannonballs do essentially damage the main tower. What some people have asked me to do before is they'll ask me to start hitting recovery centers, and they seem to be under the conception that, or under the concept that cannonballs do decent damage to the recovery centers, and that's just not true, because it seems that way because recovery centers have fairly low health, and it's not that cannonballs do decent damage to them at all. You're actually way better off just sending a single Musa to like BDB one recovery center, and it'll do the equal damage to a cannonball. It's really not worth the setup and the silver and the effort of shooting a cannonball at that. You're much better off just shooting cannonballs at the main tower. Also, one thing to keep in mind while shooting cannonballs at the main tower, it can damage it until it's 50%, but even after it's 50%, people will be trying to repair that tower, and a repair cycle takes 60 seconds. So if you're constantly hitting it with cannonballs, there is no way they can get a full repair cycle off on that tower, and it'll deny rebuilds. Also, yeah, there's flame cannonballs. So if you've taken part in Node War, you've noticed that there's random fires going around. Those fires not only put a dot on you, but it prevents the guild from placing structures down on top of that fire. So, I mean, they can put it out with water, which kind of makes me hesitant to use flame tower or flame cannonballs sometimes, but it will prevent guilds from rebuilding.
Fire. Okay, so essentially, besides Flame Tower and Watcha, everything else that doesn't really take damage from cannon, correct?
Not
Um,
really.
yeah, go ahead,
I
Jeff.
mean, yeah, like for me, I would not be shooting at the elephant's observatory. I mean, elephant's observatory, Cannon Observatory, or the elephant nursery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elephant Observatory.
We sit here, we look at elephants.
That's what we do.
I was thinking like a watchtower for elephants. Like there are elephants in the watchtower
Oh,
watching.
that'd be
You
sick.
shoot out elephants from the
They
watchtower.
see things that you don't.
The
Hopefully,
elephants.
bro.
Elephant spotter.
But
Okay,
yeah,
so
those two.
all right, so there's
Isn't Flag of D also?
Oh yeah, flag. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Basically,
feel
no
like-
structures besides the tower, Hawacha, and Flame Tower are worth
Yeah.
shooting at.
okay, so
Basically,
how many shots do you think, like, besides the fact that you'd be able to interrupt repair cycle, cannon shot on tower? How many shots roughly until like you will take
It's 50%.
Yeah, to 50%. Yeah.
Jesus, dude.
I wouldn't even know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
I've never tested that.
Yeah. So essentially, it's more interrupting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wouldn't that be more economical using practice cannon to shoot at towers then?
I don't think practice cannons work during Node Wars.
Yeah, they
correct
don't
me
work
if
in
I'm
Node
wrong.
Wars.
Ooh. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, so you know what? That's
Also,
go ahead.
keep in mind that cannonballs knock people out of super armor as well as knock people off of horses. So that can be pretty useful. I mean, it's not practical to use in a fight because it's really no way to coordinate that. Not only does it take 30 seconds between each shot, the cannonball has to travel. So normally
that
by
in
the time the
Siege, buddy.
cannonball lands, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
They blast cannonballs at the gate to delay longer.
Oh, yeah. You can like carpet bomb an area, but you can't really like
Nah, it's
let's
not-
say
yeah.
there's a group of people over there. Aim at them, please, and then we'll push
Yeah,
on the
it's not-
cannonball.
That's
It's-
not feasible. But if they're in one concentrated area,
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you guys didn't know that fire could be taken out or put out by purified water. A lot of gal don't know about this for some reason. So make sure not just your defense team, everyone need to have should have a little bit of purified water on them. And just literally right click in your inventory and he puts out the freaking fire.
You can hotkey it too.
Yeah, but I mean,
Some people don't have that
yeah.
room.
So fire take out attention of fire if they real play fire. Okay, just make sure there's, we answer all the questions here. All right, let me go back to guideline. So, cannon spotters, tips and tricks, and no stories. Actually, before we move on, anything else from cannons into a base, cannoning a base?
Yeah, I think one thing that's neglected and is really, really important is constant communication between the cannon team and some kind of shot caller. So, for instance, somebody earlier in chat mentioned how they're like anti-cannon squads, and that's definitely a thing with every single guild that I've gone into, or like any competent guild that I've fought before that are worth using cannons on. They will always have somebody looking for cannons. The moment you fire a cannonball, and they hear the sound of the cannonball landing, or they see a bunch of people get knocked over by nothing, people will be out scouting for your cannons. So one thing you can do to communicate with your shot caller to avoid constantly getting wrecked by like 20 people or their entire defense squad is only fire the cannons when the enemy base is being pressured by the offense force. Now, I've had my spotter, since sometimes I haven't had lines of communications with shot callers before on cannon teams. So what I've done is I've told my spotter to say, when are we pushing in? When do we have a presence at their base? Because then people are less likely to notice the cannonball landing. And on top of that, it's really important to be able to tell your shot caller, I can't hit this Hawacha. I can't hit this right now. We're getting pressured. And then, I used to do this with Taco in Final, and he would say, okay, we'll give you protection so you can take out the siege structure, because it's way more efficient to have a cannon take out a flame tower than to like hurl your body into the flame tower over and over again until it goes down.
Did you just say protection?
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
Wait, protection?
Like they surround the cannon team.
Oh, okay,
like,
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
like-
I thought you
yeah.
were talking about the fucking gal
No,
protection.
no.
I was like, wait, what? New mechanic? What is this
Broken.
shit? That would be broken as fuck. All right. So someone in chat actually brought up like, fire is fast to put out by purified water. So what's the point?
Exactly. That's
Yeah. Go ahead.
I've sort of been wary on using flame cannonballs because you can just you just use the purified water and it's gone.
Yeah. So
But again, it's really inconvenient. Sometimes they're ill prepared and they don't have purified water or they don't know about it, and it's either way it's annoying because people will run through it and they'll get the dot on them and.
yep. And once their dot is there, it's there. They can use purified water, put out the goddamn fire, but they still have the dot on them, which
There
they
are
will
burn
not.
removal elixirs, but people don't use those ever.
Yeah. So like I mean like they cannot place for was it 30 seconds? Is that right?
I'm not sure. I think it's as soon as the fire goes out they can place.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and,
It's not
and,
great.
and not to mention, it's not just the fire. You have to deal with the harassment squad too.
Yeah.
So like it's alternate between okay. So if I try to put out a flyer, I gotta go deal. Harassment squad is basically be able to roam freely, kind of like fucking B2B your shit, and then or if you can deal with the harassment squad, and then you try to, you know, uh, there's flank counter. It's just more stuff for the defense team to deal with.
Yeah.
And kind of like the more you put them on their heels or like their back foot, like the better. Like the more room that your offense have to work with.
Yeah, it's more of a psychological warfare
Yeah.
thing at that point.
Now let's see.
Like seeing your entire base on fire, it can be kind of disheartening.
All right, so let's see. What anything else you guys want to add before we move on?
On top of what Gannon mentioned about coordination with your shot caller and as cannon team, a lot of the times, when they're out searching for you as a cannoneer, or if you're harassing them enough and they feel that you're a problem, they'll send like a 10-man squad after you,
Yeah.
and that could be an advantage as well because if you have one person, literally one person on cannon, just kind of as decoy. That basically removes their whole defense for us. So that gives your team an opportunity to just basically go in and rape their base.
So that's actually a good segue to your story, Gannon. The Seven Gal.
The final, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Go for it. Give him background. Give him background.
Right, I was in final, and I was pretty much one of the three people. Actually, no, we had a pretty solid cannon team on final. Now I think about it. With anyway, yeah, we had a really good cannon team. We actually had Lolcero, who's a really good witch. Some people in chat might not know him, but he's a really good witch, and he's pretty geared. So it was his first time on cannons, and
Sorry.
yeah, pretty much until he blew all of his shit up like a fucking idiot.
Yep.
But right, so this we placed on a rollover T1, and there was literally 8 other guilds placed, or like 7 or something, and we were like, holy shit, we have to destroy a base like every couple minutes. And so, especially as cannons, we made that job a lot. Constantly be on our feet and constantly be shooting, constantly getting pushed on by other guilds. So Sarah and I kind of made that a game. Where, especially with some of the base placements by our Furia Valley, those are completely ridiculous and can only be shot at, by a couple angles. So one thing we started doing, because we literally we shot one cannonball and there was 20 people on top of us. We were like, there's no point in us even trying to shoot it over and over. So we had 2 cannon observatories, and essentially what we would end up doing was we would shoot a single cannonball and immediately queue up picking up the cannon so we could just juke them immediately. So we would shoot once, pick up the cannon, move somewhere else, shoot again, pick up the cannon. And eventually what we started doing was we had 2 cannon observatories. So I would have one cannon and Sarah would have the other cannon. I would place one cannon somewhere, and then Sarah would place the other cannon somewhere. I would shoot. They would start looking for me, and I would crouch next to my cannon, and then Sarah would shoot, and he would crouch next to his cannon. And it's like they were just running back and forth between us, looking for us. It was like the most ridiculous wild goose chase.
Wait,
searching for one cannonball.
I think what we haven't been doing lately is having multiple cannon observatories.
Yeah, we just don't have the cannon team to do that. Is the thing.
Yeah.
You need, on top of having more than one cannon shooter, you need a defender for 2 cannons.
Mhm.
There's no point in doing it if you're just gonna have both of those cannons get destroyed immediately.
Wait, so defender. So you're talking about minimum of 4 people. So one.
Yeah, I would
defender
say
for
4 or
each?
5 people for
Yeah,
two
yeah.
cannon observatories.
Alright,
And plus,
gotcha.
you have to take out other grids.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, and let's see. Actually, okay. Anyway, so moving. Let's share some good screen. Oh, actually, any. I'm gonna start sharing some screenshots. Here.
Yeah. There's
So,
some pretty ridiculous plays you can get with cannons.
Panda. Just so you know.
Yo,
Has he seen these?
No, he has not.
no, I haven't.
I'm gonna
Let's
start
see
out.
it.
I'm gonna start out with this one. This is. You remember that war that you guys had 3v1
Yeah.
with us?
Oh, what the fuck, dude? Yeah, I saw that. That triggered me so hard.
Okay.
I was like, yo, Cannon team, we need to step it up, dude. They got monkeys. Holy shit.
All right. So go ahead. Go ahead. Fucking. These are your screenshots, Canon team.
No, they're actually Jeff's. I just stole them. From
Okay.
from
Okay. Go
Jeff.
ahead.
This is this is basically comedy. Fucking, I was going back to base to grab a cannon, for whatever reason. But so I'm walking down the road. This guy is like, "Oh, help me!" And I'm like, "What?" So I see the cannon in the tree. He's like, "Please kill it for me." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Wait. This
Yeah, it
is.
was like a really awkward moment.
Wait.
And
Wait.
then
Sky Strike is asking you to kill the cannon for
yeah, because
Why?
it's stuck in the tree. You can't
Damn.
do anything
You
to
can't
it.
get rid of it.
Yeah, and
How-
if eventually we became friends, and then we started placing cannons together, and then that's when we were hitting.
What?
I saw you guys place literally right next to each other. Like
Oh, yeah,
that,
you
on the
actually came
top
by.
of the
Yeah,
fucking.
You actually
That
came
triggered me,
by.
dude. I was like, you guys are next to each other, like on top of this orange building. Like,
Yeah.
I'm never forgetting that.
That's
wait,
actually
wait,
really
wait,
common
wait,
for cannon teams. Like if you're both cannoning the same base, I'll often see cannon teams like set up together and coordinate with each other from opposite guilds.
Yeah, there you go. Tip: you can remove cannons from map by clicking on the icon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't
Yes.
mention that. Thank you, Miyakai. Yeah, like that's Sky Strike. I guess they didn't know that, but so what happened is just give you guys a little background. There's 4 gal plays. Lionsgate was by far the strongest out of all of us at the time. I think it still is. Well, just a lot of numbers. Fuck you, Panda. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so we end up with Sky Strike, Volok, and ourselves, and we have low. I'm pretty sure we have pretty, like maybe 30s at the time.
Yeah, every time we fucking fight Lionsgate, it's like Father's Day or some shit, and like only 20
Nah.
We're
people
the
show up.
fatherless guild. Let's go, boys.
It's
Oh my
ridiculous.
Anyway, so that's 3v1. That was pretty cool. Anyway, like Lion, that day was forever known in my heart as the day that Panda threw me off cliff twice.
I'm never
Fuck
forgetting that. I don't have the AP to kill him, and I
But-
see a cliff.
Can't evade this, pussy!
We're going in plus team. Let's go.
Yo, it was awesome. But anyway, so Lionsgate was full defense, and it was really tough for us to push in, even with 3 gals. Now, obviously, while we're pushing, we have every gal has their cannon doing their own thing. Aiming at Landscape's base as well to prevent rebuilds and shit. Now, so essentially, this is Sky Strike's cannon in the tree. But I'm more curious, how did you get in there, and B, why is the backup cannon tier won't be able to get to it?
I'm guessing, is he a ninja?
No, he's a striker. He
Oh,
did
he's a
like the striker jump thing.
The
and
jump
pushed
attack,
up there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay, go ahead.
So in those kind of trees, you can see how there's a couple branches together. You can stand on that. So I'm guessing he placed a cannon there and immediately got on it. But when he tried, I'm guessing he got off of it for some reason, and then he like
Fucking
the
fell
cannon.
off.
Yeah, the cannon. He couldn't get back onto it because the cannon pushed him off of the branch or something.
All right. Next one. Same fight. Jeff, I'm gonna zoom in here. Go ahead.
Oh god.
Oh, is it the good one?
No. This is the one someone crouching in the far right.
Oh.
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So what you want to keep in mind is just because you're crouched doesn't mean like they can't see you. Like you still have a red outline.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have this misconception where it's like, oh, if I crouch in nowhere, they can't see me at all. No, that is not true. You'll still have a red freaking outline. You'll kind of stick out like that fucker over there in the corner in the bushes because she's
Right
wearing
here.
like a white dress. So
Yeah, like so you can't just crouch. You have to go prone.
Yes, I mean even if you're prone, you still
Yeah,
you
that guy
still
is
kind of
prone.
stick out.
Oh, that guy
Yeah.
is prone. Yeah.
You,
Okay.
you still kind of stick out. But then
Yeah.
if you're actually blocked by debris, like you're actually in a giant bush, sometimes they can't see you because the bush is physically blocking like the view,
That's
the
why
graphics blocking. So
if you guys follow my no war stream, you'll see me a lot of time hiding in bushes. Essentially, that's what happens.
Yep.
Like yeah. Anyway, all right. This one is it's Volok cannon.
Oh no.
It's on top of the fucking tower. It looks like.
Holy shit, dude. I was like, yo, we're getting cannon towards like southwest. Someone go in there. They're like,
You
I
guys
can't
see
find
this
it.
yet? You guys see this yet?
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude.
How the
The hell
fuck?
that triggered me.
Wait. Okay.
that's a
What?
Sork.
That's
the
a
Sork,
sword.
the Sork did the jump dash
Oh,
Sork
jump
thing, the
shift,
double
yeah.
jump thing. Yeah, whatever the hell that
Oh.
is. And then she landed right on top of the tower. That's how she
I
got
thought it
there.
was a Kuno or like a
No,
ninja,
that's a
like
Sork.
jump crystals.
Like even Zerkers can make that with the rocket jump. Like
Yeah.
a lot of classes can make that.
Dude, like this particular no war, like cannon team's like a fucking circus.
Just
Like,
Media in general has so many ridiculous little buildings that you can climb on
this is
top of.
ridiculous.
Like think about Sawzins. There's so many fucking towers you can get on
Oh
top
my
of with
god,
jump
it's awesome,
crystals.
dude.
Sawzins is cannon heaven. You should
Yeah.
never build a base anywhere near there. 'cause
When
you'll just
people
hit
build
cannons.
inside Sarma, you're cute, dude.
You're an idiot.
You're cute.
That's like building on the little island in Calpheon in Lake Kaya.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
the
dude.
fucking
That-
Normandy?
You fuck up.
yeah. All right, so
Mostly
Oh,
because
shit.
there's actually a little island down the river, down a waterfall that you can place cannons on and hit the base from. And it's like they have
Really?
to swim to your cannons.
that's
Yeah.
something I didn't know.
That was back in
In
Prey.
Prey,
In
yeah.
Prey.
We were just
It's
shooting them out of the water.
Me and Gannon were on a rock defending cannons. He was using his buster and I was using my bow, and we were just shooting people in the fucking water. And they were just dying before they could get to us, dude. We were just fucking capping kids in the water.
Like the best part is neither of these fucking classes are range classes.
Yeah,
Like, what the
fucking
fuck?
Moose and a Zerker. We're just
Wait,
getting people in the water.
why- So for a class to never put on cannon team, Musa. Don't put Musas on cannon team. Because like with these positions, like Musas just can't even dash. They're not allowed.
Oh, fuck. It's true. It's true. Oh, okay. So, this is the screenshot is a Lionsgate sitting at two Lionsgates sitting at the bottom of the tower.
Yeah, this is Lionsgate
Can
giving
you
up.
just feel the salt like in the sodium depression?
It's like fuck this stupid game.
Yo, we're getting cannon, and we're just looking at it, dude. It's like, all right,
Wait, where is the cannon in this screenshot? I don't see.
it's on the fucking top, dude.
It's up there.
It's like the same screenshot before this, but like under now.
Oh my. Oh, okay. Who's okay? Like I can't. There. So I see two at Lionsgate, and then there's fucking Jeff. Jeff, what the fuck are you doing standing around?
I went down there to take a screenshot, dude.
It's worth it.
You're supposed to be cannoning.
No. Carmen was cannoning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was just standing there looking pretty for the most part.
Yeah.
Fucking asshole. Sorry. All right. Next one. So again, same tower, I believe. And this is this two fucking cannon next to each other?
This triggered me the most, dude. I really didn't.
I
know
think
what was
no. This is not the one
Yeah.
that you were. It's still on top of the tower. It's
Yeah,
not
it's the same tower, but
It's
now
the same.
Corman's there.
Tower, dude.
Both
So it's the
fucking-
Sork and Corman, yeah. Basically Endgame and
Valak?
Verloc or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Valak,
Valak,
yeah.
yeah.
This is ridiculous. Okay, another point. Valks can use Lencia F to jump almost vertical gap like that.
Oh yeah.
Mayakai,
Yeah.
thank you for that's actually. Oh, I didn't know Valk has mechanic for jumping like that. That's cool.
He's a Valk. He's our cannon.
Nice. All right. This give me PTSD on Lionsgate. Defense. All right, so this is essentially the same screenshot, and then there's this fucking building. I think this one is this still on Lionsgate or this is on Velluck now? The last one.
Oh,
That's on-
dude, we got like this is after. So this on the right side, I remember that's Valak. On the left side, was it Skystrike? I think, or the other way
It's
around. I'm
Endgame
not sure.
Sky Strike.
Yeah. I think at this point we're already cannoning Velluck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think at this point, like Lionsgate was already
Lionsgate
done.
was dead already.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were down.
Yeah,
And Panda came to visit us, and then we were like, "No pandas allowed up here."
I was like, holy shit, dude.
Oh my god. Wait. Question: why isn't there fucking cannonballs in your cannon, Jeff?
I don't know, dude. I think we just set up. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Corman might have been loading
Can
them.
we please not focus on the details here?
All right.
I remember
Okay.
during that final node war,
Yeah.
we had a ninja on our cannon team, Sure Buddy. He climbed on top of this like ridiculous tower that I've never seen anybody on top of before, like near the Quint Hill like troll base, because that's where Hiki was set up, and like he actually had to use jump crystals, so only ninjas and kunos can really get up there,
With
and maybe
crystals.
tamers, yeah, with
Good.
jump crystals, and
Damn.
so I was watching him up there, like we all got slaughtered by Hiki's like 20-man anti-cannon force, and like they had a single ninja climb up there, and I was just in observe mode watching fucking Mortal Kombat over a cannon. It was so great.
Holy fuck. Alright, so the next set of screenshot is Jeff, I guess spotting, against Giga.
I've done this before.
This
It's
is
so fun.
ridiculous. Alright, go ahead, Jeff, take it away.
All right, so this is when we decided to start cannoning Giga to kind of take the pressure off, alleviate the pressure off of our base, and I was the only one that was close to their base, so I decided to be the spotter. So what I did was basically go up to their base, crouch, go prone, and start crawling in. And amazingly, they didn't actually notice me. I mean, I crawled in bit by bit, like section by section. I didn't just like crawl straight all the way in. But I think they just thought I was a dead body. So I mean, I had a red outline on me. I'm pretty sure, but they just thought I was
You
a dead body.
pro'd yourself in. Holy fuck.
I'm just fucking slowly going through a screenshot. It's literally Jeff crawling into the middle of base.
You're kidding me.
Like, wait till
You have
the
to take
delay.
a screenshot every step, like, because they're gonna kill you any second.
Look at look. I don't know if you guys caught up on the delay yet, but look at this fucking screenshot. They built the base around the road. He's in the middle of the fucking road. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is at some point one of their DKs who was on a defense squad like noticed me, and she came up to me and hit me. So I went from being prone to being crouch. My name still didn't show up though, so I decided to go back to prone, and she left me alone. I was like, okay.
Oh wow.
The moment is literally this 3 screenshot right here. It's this DK actually Lee. Yeah, there you go.
Yo, props to that DK though.
I checked. I think he's dead. Fuck it. So another thing that actually is pretty interesting. There is a particular color for your ghillie that can hide your red outlines. I'm not gonna say which color. It's actually the information is floating out there, but it will be very useful even in Node Wars when you're doing shit like this. Actually, there's multiple colors. I think there's 2 or 3. I think 2 colors in total that can completely hide your red outline. But anyway, interesting tidbit. All right. So let's talk about. You know what? Let's segue into base pressure. Ben.
Base pressure.
Yeah. So
Okay,
let's talk about base pressure as a I guess like foot soldier perspective, and then we can go into that cannon stuff as well.
Let's do it from a macro perspective. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically the way you apply pressure to a base is by foot, right? By foot primarily. And also cannons themselves provide huge pressure. Then another way is by a flag. And another is technically by node respawn as well, because it's like a free flag. Pressure comes in generally waves, or by a very, very strong forward squad that just sticks at your base and constantly weaves in and out. So the way we try to give as much pressure as possible for cannons is we synchronize a push with cannons to start firing and zeroing in, hopefully within 2 to 3 shots, as we push in as an offense contingent. That way, it gives cannons the time to zero in and start landing shots on priority targets, and it also gives their defense squad / offense squad a little bit of confusion. They don't know whether it's the Musa that knocked them down or it's the cannonball. I mean, obviously, fire will give it away and seeing the cannonball, but for the most part, it's about the people putting the pressure in, so they'll get a little confused.
Yeah. So okay, so let's say you guys are regrouping.
Yeah.
So regrouping is a common issue for most scales. Like doing it's like basically you don't have significant pressure on their base because main force is regrouping.
Yeah.
So on foot, you got harassment squad, and usually is done by Musa Mewa. And actually, personally, I'm on the harassment squad as well. So we rebuild. You do rebuild denieds. You do scrimmage, or like there's more like other nitty gritty stuff such as just before the main force push in, you try to drag people into another direction and basically open up a base, like thin out the base a little bit more for your main force to come in,
Right.
etc. Now, in terms, but then there are times that basically, uh, like harassment squad is wiped off the base. Main force still regrouping, still not quite ready, and then like that's when cannon comes in. Flame cannons or shit like that. Like, in terms of like when you hear Jeff and Gannon, when you guys hear Ben says, "Hey, we need you guys to keep pressure. Our forward squad is about to be wiped." Like, do you guys get that call, or B, like like what is your general, I guess, approach if you got orders or direction like that?
I mean, technically, you'd have to ask one of the people who are currently on cannons, but the
No.
way it is on macro usually is because we don't have any of our current cannon squad here, dude.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
No,
So,
when their past experience.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go. Jeff and Gannon.
Oh, I think I might have to go in a little bit, but
Yeah.
thanks for inviting me along though.
No worries, man. Do your thing. Thanks for coming.
Right.
Like that was very helpful. Adding useful information for us.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah,
See
man.
you guys around.
Let's.
Yeah, take
Bye.
care.
Thanks. All right, Jeff. All you.
Okay, what was the question? I'm kind of distracted.
Okay, so
Sorry.
you're still half
Holy
asleep.
shit. No, it's fine. I'll answer it.
Yeah.
The way it is the things I expect from cannons to be called out. So working on it, but when you fire, firing intervals, what targets, HP percentage, and basically status of the cannon.
Mhm.
We're cracked. We're fighting, finding a spot to shoot from, zeroing in, etc. Like these are all updates that I factor in to either say stop shooting and hide, or just keep fucking shooting. Shoot now, etc. Like these are the things that are called
Mhm.
to the cannon squad to be relayed to the cannon squad because they are technically their own form of, like you said, harassment. So
Yep. Yeah.
that's generally the way they function.
To a degree.
Personally,
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I try to relay like the fact that say we like usually I relay information to Ben when we find a position to set up cannon. We actually have cannon set up and we're ready to fire. And before firing, I confirm again if he wants us to start firing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when we get hit or cannons down, I relay that as well.
Yeah,
In
where
terms,
where to get set up to, stuff like that.
like in terms of status on enemy structures or what we're hitting, usually it's the spotter that has to relay that. So a lot of the times, I would actually encourage the spotter to be the one that relays the information.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because how would the cannon guy know? Right? Like,
Yep.
just fucking shooting into technically thin air
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have eyes on the base.
It
It's
does
impossible.
happen. It does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Now.
What the fuck is your background, you little piece of shit, dude?
You finally noticed. I don't know
Holy
I don't know what
shit!
you're talking about.
Innocent.
All right. That's I think the last 2 point is not so specific for canon now. So regroup points, like things to consider, how to pick regroup points, and like when we decide to do trades, like flags, tower, like and what are the things to decide? The not sure things to consider and what to and when is a good trade in your opinion?
That is a very case by case situation.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Um,
just examples.
examples. I mean, the Kyokai War that you're showing is a good example. Like we have so much pressure at their base. It's fine to pitch a couple cannons because it'll always be hot by the time they get back. That's how much pressure we're putting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the case where, let's say it's a very very far base and we just can't afford to have cannons take 5 to 10 minutes to set up, it's just gonna make way more sense to have those people hide, fucking abandon the cannon and run away, and or stop firing. Just wait. Maybe you won't get spotted. Or if it's so low and we need a fuck ton of pressure, and just that base needs to be hot as hell, and just turn into an oven. Just keep fucking firing flame. Like these are the calls that will go out every now
Mm-hmm.
and then.
Oh no, no we're I'm asking more like not exactly canon related anymore, such as like when to trade base, when to trade.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah,
Okay,
stuff like that.
so like I said before, like flags, that's a huge, huge, huge monster, right? It's a big ass elephant in the room. Even an elephant doesn't apply technically as much pressure as a flag, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a forward base and it's tanky as hell, and people are just gonna come fucking streaming out of it. Usually, the flag placements are very, very strong and or very sneaky. That's why you have forward squads checking out for them. But I'd say if I was gonna sack my base percentage for anything, it'd be a fucking flag because
Yeah.
that shit needs to go down. And it's fine if you tank 20% because that can be repaired up. But if you don't take that flag out immediately or at the very best opportunity, that thing will be a pain in your fucking ass. Because if they're constantly respawning out of it and you miss a chance to, well, I mean, technically we lost the war because of one of them.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't take it out, you might not get another chance. You will probably die if you don't take that flag out.
Yeah.
So
Okay. And let's see. Panda
What's good?
trade. What's a good trade? What's a bad trade? What in your book?
Trading.
Like let's say. I know it's like a case by case situation, right? And what are the things to consider when you decide, hey, should we trade or not?
The thing again, it is a case by case situation. If you are getting pressured a lot, and depends on what time of the war,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what you have up. If you are getting pressured a lot by the flag, then take that out, right? Um, if you think that if a guild panics, like you'll know it throughout the war, I guess, or however many times you fought them, you'll know if their shot caller is panicky, where if their base is getting melted or getting just picked off, then they will start playing defensively. There's some that will go for the risky plays, and again, it is a case by case, dude.
Yeah, but yeah, it's more or less like asking like what are the condition that you will look at before you make a call for trade or not to trade. Stuff like that. Okay. So obviously flag it's a must. Like
Flag is a big must, dude.
yeah, like
Like you want to alleviate pressure. If they just keep on pushing, like wave after wave after wave, all right, there's a flag. Where is it? We need to find it.
hmm
We need to rebuild, right?
yeah,
That's the thing. Go ahead.
yeah. No. Go ahead.
Um, like we had a war against Hikikomori, right?
hmm
They were just placing like after we destroyed the flag, they would have another one, flag after flag after flag. Again, we couldn't just alleviate like we couldn't get rid of the pressure. Like it was just wave after wave after wave. So we couldn't really pressure their base. If anything, they traded with us like perfectly fine. Like what they did was really good.
Yeah. Okay. So to let's say okay, sustain pressure now, which is like okay, regroup points. Like it's every gal has this issue, not to a degree. Every gal has it. Regrouping is always not fast enough to a degree. Like it's there's always gonna have stragglers, and it could be various reasons. Could be people not familiar with the terrains. It could be the res timer is off sync, or it could be whatever. A lot of reason could that. So when you pick your group points, I guess this question would be directed to both Ben and Panda. When you pick regroup points, what do you consider?
Like which direction?
Yeah, how do you pick? Like, say, oh, we're gonna regroup at this ping. Like, why? What are the things that you consider before you decide? Okay, you know what? This is a good place for us to wait for everyone to be ready.
The two main things I really look for, depending on which direction I want to go push, is one, how their base layout is. If I see a Hwacha, I go for Hwacha Supply Depot. Those are my top two, right?
Yeah.
But if I see a Hwacha like super like directly next to a fucking Rico, that's a lot of pressure on that side, and I want that down. That's killing two birds with one stone.
Mm-hmm.
If I see, let's say, two flame towers defending each other, right? And then I see like or a supply depot defended by a flame tower, then if it's enough, you can AoE them both, and again, killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
And then ideally, I would like to have either the cannon squad behind the main forces push or on the opposite,
Mm-hmm.
because we do have swing teams. So basically, swing teams are harassments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, I like to put the spotter with the swing team because one, there's zoop zoop classes, so it's a lot easier to either die in base or just super armor through it and then get the base layout and get all that shit, right? Um, then or I mean, yeah, those are the only things that I like personally. Either the opposite or the same side.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Ben.
Yeah, and in general, it's nice to have spacing. It's definitely case by case. If they're hot on the regroups, or if they're hot on jumping on regroups, if they're hot on hero diving into you, your regroup should change based on that. Sometimes if you want to apply pressure, fucking regroup on their base. Like that's sometimes called too from our side. You just basically want to you want as many people to get there as possible, right?
Yeah,
Like
as fast as possible. Yeah.
as fast as possible, as fast as possible, as many as possible, and that's it's gonna be dependent on a whole ton of factors. But basically, the easiest thing to go by is distance and how strong they are on cracking your regroups.
Mm-hmm.
If you
And
guys have a chance, fucking crack regroups, by the way, because a lot of people just sit there with their dick in their hand, not paying attention.
yep. Yeah, and then also like like Panda mentioned before, directions and direction of a cannon team, etc. Uh, Base layouts. Now, so that's pretty much it for this week. We're a little bit over our. Whoa! What's with the drop frames?
Wait a second.
Yeah, we're a little bit over on our time now. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. Anything you guys want to add before we wrap it up?
Um, bring cannons, right,
Make it.
Panda?
Yes,
Fucking
bring
bring
cannons
cannons.
in the front line, dude. Fuck it. Who needs Zergus to engage when you can just
Yo,
have cannon
when's
team in front of
Jube?
it?
When's Jube getting in here? That motherfucker shot 500 cannonballs in an war, dude.
Oh my god. He shot it off a boat, dude. He shot it off his Euphoria sailboat too.
Yeah, dude, he shot it off.
So broken.
Oh my god. Alright, alright. So I'm getting a lot of drop frames suddenly, so I'm gonna let's wrap this up before my fucking stream crashes for some reason. All right, so thank you very much for everyone coming. Hopefully, everyone that learned something, not just from us, but also from chat. There's
My God,
Lionsgate
that
Cannon tier
fucking
in chat.
desktop.
I don't know what you're talking
Fuck
about.
you.
I don't know what you're talking about. Now, so thank you for Lionsgate's Canon here popping in chat and feeding us some good information as well. Let's see. So if you guys like this podcast or find it useful, I will be exporting this podcast to YouTube. The YouTube channel is SRS Karma. Make sure you leave a like, comments, or anything you like us to cover for the following episode. Well, not following, the next few episodes. We'll try to fit it in as much as possible. So, any shout outs and shit before we say our goodbyes?
I
Yo,
want to
thanks for
shout out the
having me.
Lions for coming out,
Oh
saying
shit.
what's up.
Yeah,
Because,
man.
we did just have a award today.
Yeah,
So,
congrats on
to
taking down the AS, dude. The big AS.
the big ass.
Yeah, man. Also, actually, a quick question, Panda. Since you guys started doing
Yes.
war on Wednesday now, do you guys want? Are you guys okay moving this shit to Thursday, same time?
Uh,
Cause
that's like a PM question, Karma.
okay, all right, all right, all right. It's all good.
Well, fuck it, right? Let's go. Actually, no. You know why? Because I have work.
You have work. Okay, fine.
I
We'll
have
keep
work
it.
off
We'll keep it Wednesday.
Thursdays.
We'll keep it Wednesday then. All right.
Let me
Anyway,
know.
yeah. All right. So thank you, Jeff, for coming out as well.
No problem.
Thanks to
Yeah.
Gannon. Thanks to Panda.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. So my name is Bloody Karma. I'm a wizard from the Endgame.
I'm Benjamin Musa from Endgame.
Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
Fucking Christ.
And it's your boy, Illis Panda, back at it again from the dead on single. Likes cuddles, long walks at the beach. Level 60 Zerker. I'm tired.
With the fidget spinner.
With a fidget spinner that lights up.
Right on. Anyway, all right. Thank you everyone for coming by. Anyway, hopefully, guys, see you next week, Wednesday, 11:30 p.m. EST. And hope you guys enjoy this week's episode. I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
buddy.
Thanks, buddy.